everybody. Hi, and welcome to the Picking Brains podcast. My name is Charlie, and today we are joined by Aiden, Mikey, and Ash. Hello, guys. How is everyone doing?
All good, thanks. All good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing pretty good, all things considering, second lockdown, but we're moving.
Yippee.
Yay! Especially the news that happened today about there's going to be a week period where students can travel home for Christmas,
Yes.
which is insinuating lockdown will probably carry on past November.
Yay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been wild, and we're here to discuss about Halloween. But first, if you don't know who we are, what we do, well, this is what we do. Me and Aiden from Zombie Infection, we're a zombie experience company where we run events all across the UK. People get chased around by zombies, they shoot them down, and are led through a continuous storyline. I'm also from Turf Wars, and we recently had our first event this Halloween, where you're in a grid and you have to escape the hunter hunting you and unlock the boxes. Now, we also have Ash from Scare Directory. I pronounced that wrong. Director. I'm really bad with words today. Directory. So many possibilities. Let's introduce yourself to the people who may not know you. I'm sure they do, but you never know who's out there.
Yeah, hiya. I'm one of the few people who run Scare Directory. We're a website to help you find scare attractions near you.
Awesome. Yeah, you have like a whole map of the UK as well on your website to locate the events near you. And finally, Mikey from Scare Track. Give us a little whirlwind tour of Scare Track.
So Scare Track is the UK's first podcast showcasing the scare attraction and haunted house industry. So we go to scare attractions, do on-location reviews, we do interviews, discussion episodes. We also dabble in a little bit of YouTube for some videos, like on-location mini vlogs, top 10 countdown videos, a whole bunch of different stuff on there. So yeah, just try and showcase the UK scare industry, really.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Halloween, it's been a weird one. It's been a bit crazy. Yeah. So many regulations, so many different things. Do you think, like, what were your... Well, let's start off with what were your highs and lows? What do you think were some of your favourite points? And what were some areas that may have needed a bit of improvement? I mean, I didn't really go to many, unfortunately, because I was in Southend and there wasn't much going on there. I've got to say, Scream Kingdom we went to. Yes?
Scare Kingdom, yeah.
Scare Kingdom. See, I've got such a good memory.
The Spooky House.
Spooky House. I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was done really, really well. I probably enjoyed that. Well, yeah, you guys, do you have any best moments from this Halloween?
For me, it was the underdogs, the ones no one's ever heard of. It was the events that, people wouldn't have thought of going to. They surprised us the most. We went to some incredible ones. So, like Survival Zone in Weymouth, all the way down south. So, unfortunately, probably not easy to get to for everyone, but brilliant. Had a great time in Great Yarmouth. It was quite a simple event at Fairground Fights in Great Yarmouth Pleasure Beach, but fun.
Yeah.
I can't forget one other one. Sessions Haunted House.
Sessions?
Sessions in Spalding, sort of in the east of the country. Was incredible. I just sit here thinking, what could they do in a non-COVID year? And I think it would be amazing.
Was it their first year doing something? Was it? Fair play.
Yeah, first year. I think there was a few connections to Hinchinbrook House, like whether it was some of the actors or whatever. But yeah, like even the way they kept groups distance is that we had a rope. We had to keep hold of the rope, and they had markers that were at 2 meters. so that we stayed 2 meters from the group in front. So it was only 2 groups going through at a time, but the rope was, keep it tight, and you're 2 meters away from them. So
Oh, smart idea.
And then they flipped the way, so you every now and again you flipped who was at the front. So you always if you didn't get the scares in one area, you got the scares in the next one.
Oh, that's good.
And really innovative. There was a blindfolded section, really innovative. Oh, I could talk about it for ages. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Same with the survival zone. In an old fort, going around the corridors.
Yeah, I've just seen it. That looks insane. Like properly on the coast. That looks so good.
Really good, movie level props, movie level effects. The acting was brilliant. It was very story driven. So it was happening 2 years after COVID. And there was this outbreak of these zombies, and it took you through from the mortuary and all that sort of stuff, and it just built and built and built, and then with a massive ending. But and they're just talking to the guys who were running it. They're really keen to bring it back next year with being able to get more in your face, because you can hopefully by next year, because they've got ideas for, and the venue, you could fit multiple mazes in that venue. It was huge. So,
it does look pretty damn cool. I've got family in Weymouth. I want to go there now.
Oh, go next year if you can make it.
Yeah,
I highly recommend it.
Amazing. Mikey, do you have any favourites?
Yeah. So I mean, the thing that surprised me most was I only got to go to one of them, but it was the birth of drive-through haunts, which I'm sure we'll talk about. It was a birth of those. We were supposed to have 4, but I think we ended up having 3 in the end. Personally, to me, I was pleasantly surprised by Freak Show, Toxic Junkyard. Again, I'm sure we'll get deep into all this, but that was literally not a last-minute attempt sort of thing, but Towers had other plans, and they basically thought, well, it's a COVID year, we don't know what's going to happen, can't spend too much money, and they literally just got any bit of old crap that they could find, in Merlin headquarters. It could have been a real sort of dodgy one, and it turned out, in my opinion, to be a masterpiece. I thought it was just quality. It was just blew me away.
I've heard so much about Toxic Junkyard. I've just heard nothing but good things. Clever idea to get stuff. Just
one.
About.
It didn't cost too much. Because they had the stuff anyway, and don't get me wrong, the first time round they bought it would have cost a lot. They put quality props into their mazes. They even stole bits from the Flume ride. But it turned out to be really, really good, because I don't think they were trying to go too different with it. It was just, a standard quality sort of scare attraction, the maze. There's nothing elaborate or different about it. It was just an old school, in your face clown maze. Used a lot of distraction scares, which were really good. They had big tools to try and keep it all socially distant, so they kept away from you. Another positive one that blew me away was Spooky World, Warrington. It gets a bad rep every single year. When I first started getting into the industry, people are like, "Oh, don't go Spooky World," and it is. If you go in there with just thinking, "I'm going to go in and find an old school sort of haunted house, carnival, hayride," if you go in there just knowing you're not going to have the most beautiful sets, the most elaborate theming, things like that, but what you are going to get is some proper good quality scares. And in my opinion, most of their attractions just gave some really, really good scares, considering it's a COVID year. They had to be 2 meters away from you or a meter plus. They really pulled it out of the bag, Spooky World, in my opinion.
Why do they normally get a bad rep? Is it because they don't have those big sets you were saying about?
I think. I mean, there's lots of button heads with the Spooky World people. They won't mind me telling that. But they nothing much has changed in a long time. Carnival had a nice bit of an upgrade a few years ago, or last year now. But other than that, it is just, there's a haunted house, there's a clown maze, there's a field, there's a hayride, and it is just decent. enough sets, but there's nothing that's going to, you can go to a Farmageddon and look at the church scene and go, wow, that's insane. Or you can go to Manor Mortis at Scare Kingdom, which is stunning. And, the Towers maze is always beautifully themed. So you can go around the country and see some really quality stuff. And Spooky World, it is some blood on the walls, some strobe lights, some smoke machines, and it's all got the foundations of a quality old school, I like to call it, like an old school sort of attraction, which I enjoy, which is why I think I enjoy Toxic Junkyard this year, because it was just an old school style attraction, really. So, but other than that, they've had some years hit and miss. I think that, sometimes you can struggle to get actors, or sometimes their clientele is awkward for them, which will obviously affect other people's evenings. But I think, every time I've gone, I've always had a great time. And this year, I think they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, if you have a place that doesn't have, massive, big, expensive sets, the focus does turn to the actors, I guess, which allows them more room, more creativity to explore that. The focus is more on them, so they've got to push it further, which...
Definitely.
I think sometimes some mazes rely on, our sets are really incredible, so some of the actors, we had a guest from Stiltbeast who said sometimes they put on a mask and it looks really great, but they are just in the world of that mask. They think they can't go any further, and they're in the world of that set, and they don't really do much else to push the scariness and just allow everything else to do the work. But Spooky World, I'm sure the actors have then got to work double as hard to make it scary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the actors are phenomenal.
I'll tell you which one I really loved, which was very surprising. Which is the one, it's meant to be the 10 plus one at Alton Towers, the pirate one.
Darkest Depths.
Me and my girlfriend went for that about 2 o'clock, and we was the only one to go through. And I tell you what, I've never shit myself so much going for a maze in my life. There must be like 50 actors, it seemed, in there. They were against everyone. Me and my girlfriend sprinted out of there, and that was the kids' maze. I thought, "Take you come out," and I was like, my heart was racing. I was like, that was incredible.
Yeah,
and I was just like,
good.
Yeah, it's good.
You just don't expect it when you think, oh, it's a plus 10 plus maze. It's going to be average. I thought we're the only ones in here. I thought we're going to get attacked here, and I thought, oh my god, this is terrible. Like, this is terrifying. Like, I hated it.
It's stunningly
it's
beautiful as well, isn't it? The set, the set in there is I think one of the best themed attractions in the UK.
The fact it's actually sand as well. It feels like you're actually on a beach.
Yeah,
And I was like, it's actually nuts. And I really liked Spooky World, which was the one with the hillbillies. Rubbish with the names. It was like it was after the hayride, a Spooky World.
I've
You're
got
chased
it here.
out by the chainsaw.
Slaughterhouse.
I thought that was very surprising as well. I really enjoyed that as well. That was a really good house.
I like the barrels, where the barrels were being chucked around.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's it. With Spooky World as well, to me, were the other than maybe the walk at Frightmare, which has been designed to be a COVID secure event, which is really good as well. Very different style of event. But when it comes to Scream Park / Terror Farm, that kind of thing, in my opinion, Spooky World was the most COVID secure event. And Slaughterhouse, even though it was built however many years ago, for me, it felt like it was designed to be COVID secure, because they had little sections that they could be in their pens, like pigs are. The walkways are really quite opposite to most attractions that can be quite narrow and long. They are quite wide. And yeah, like you say, the barrels. At one point, this one guy just got a barrel and threw it at the wall, and it was terrifying. But obviously, the wall stops it. But he has his own little pen. He can throw barrels around. Really, Slaughterhouse was one of the most scares we had this season, definitely.
Oh,
And obviously, like over, sorry, Charlie.
go ahead.
And obviously, like I got the chance to work at Roadhouse, which obviously the drive-through experience, which I thought was very different. Like, it's nice to see people doing it differently. And obviously, we don't know what COVID's gonna be like next year, and hopefully they can open it up. And if it is available, even if COVID is fine and we can do normal like attractions, hopefully they can still do the drive-throughs, because it's totally different. People that maybe are too scared to go through scare mazes, maybe it's a little bit safer option.
What you could do, like, assuming insurance and whatnot's fine, you could sneak into someone's car and then scare them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what the rules would be, whether you'd be allowed to do that. That's a different question. But like in a non-COVID world, imagine that. Like you scare them later on when they're least expecting it. That'd be
That would be amazing. Like that
Yeah.
horror scene in the film where you shift your mirror and someone's in the back
Yeah.
seat. Gosh,
Amazing.
they need to
I
make
don't-
sure
Or you
their
could take
car's
someone
turned off.
out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You could take someone out. You could get an actor to sit in the passenger seat, saying "drive, drive, drive, go, go, go." You could really definitely add some elements to it. Again, insurance and safety comes first, but
Yeah.
they'd figure something out, I'm sure.
There's a lot of possibilities, which brings me on to my next bit of, do you reckon COVID has kind of hindered some of the scares, or do you reckon it's innovated in some instances? I mean, we've got so many drive-through scares, that have come out of this year. It's clearly brought something new about.
I would say a bit of both. I mean, it's hindered in one way because 80% of attractions have stayed closed.
It's true.
I mean, haven't done the number crunching, but quite a lot of attractions have stayed closed because they felt that they were either going to diminish their product or it just wasn't possible to do it in a COVID secure way due to the nature of the beast that is a screen park or a scare attraction. So it's definitely diminished it in that way. But the positives are obviously we've got attractions that have now got drive-through attractions, different ways of running events. Also, I've enjoyed going through mazes, only me and Hannah, and not being stuck with 10 other knobheads. Do you know what I mean?
I've loved batching.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
So much better.
Batching
But then
is a
that
big one.
causes an issue when batching is done wrong. And, it's bad enough in a normal year if you're catching up with other groups or a group behind you are catching up. That's kind of crappy in a normal year anyway. And it's not just something that us geeks / enthusiasts, people in the industry care about. It's other people, general public, get annoyed with it as well. They do. And some parks are worse than others. But in a COVID year, when you can go around a corner and you're already bumping into the group in front of you, that is what I think is it's sort of it's shown the cons of certain events and unfortunately had a negative effect on them, if that makes sense.
I thought there was I thought Scare Kingdom did it very well. I didn't bump into any groups there, I felt safer there than I did going to a supermarket or something, which I thought. And I thought the scares were fantastic in most of the houses, especially Man and Mortis. Like they kept you separate. You went through and you generally had to get scared a different way because they can't get in your face, which makes them think harder. But then you go to someone, it was like, I think it was it the one in the towers? The one I kind of felt like me and my girlfriend went through in a group on our own, but they kind of split up wrong and you was kind of seeing the next scare ahead. And obviously the COVID as well, but when you're in there, you're thinking of your scares and you kind of think, well, I need to step back again. Not because of COVID, but because you hate seeing other people's scares because you know where it's coming.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I reckon the reason why Scare Kingdom did so well is because they had a scene at the start that lasted X amount of time, which gave you time for the next group to move on and then the people outside to wait there a little bit. And I think that's how you do a good bit of batching. You have some set pieces to say, okay, this is how long it's going to take. Do you reckon that's the way forward for mazes to keep this batching? Where does it go wrong with batching, do you reckon?
I think you've nailed it with when you said seeing someone's scare when it's not your scare. Seeing the scare of the group in front, it's ruined at that point. So whatever kind of batching stops that happening. And I think that's very dependent on the maze. Like some mazes with lots of tight corners, you would not see that scare and you could be quite close behind them. But then you have the issue that you start becoming a conga line, which again is a different issue. So, I think it's going to be a tough one. It's a balancing between how many do you want to get through of a night and how do you stop it being a bad experience. You can't have both. You can't have thousands through.
I thought the same with
I guess that's...
It's a catch-22, isn't it?
That's true in a sense of, if your focus is on money, then of course you're just going to want to put as many people through as you want. But if your focus is on people having a good time and, getting those good scares, I reckon definitely for batching, like, you kind of hope people's intentions are to make people have a good time and scare, but some people will be focused on just the money. I know obviously you've got to make even and you've got to cover the costs, of course, but when that turns into how much money can we make this year, I feel like that's where, you know, it goes a little bit wrong. And you can see that in some mazes where, you know, they spend so much money on sets and designs and that's all they have. Good sets, good designs, and the rest kind of just falls apart.
I think the same with like drive. Obviously, I worked at the Roadhouse. You kind of notice it's similar to some guests. I know they can batch as well as they want, but if a car's driving too slow or one's driving too fast, or like a group in front of you's going walking at snail's pace or not the normal speed you call it, obviously that's when you get backlog. Sometimes it's not the park's fault necessarily or the person dispatching. It's the car for the drive-through, obviously, and then you've got like customers that are either sprinting through or they're walking that slow that you're basically in their group.
You almost need like overtake points where like you can just stop and say, on you go.
Go on, just pass me through 3 lanes.
Well, because some people do sprint through a scare maze because they're terrified or just playing up to their friends. But you know, it's then other people. I like to take everything in, so I go through it. You know, what I consider a reasonable pace, but others might think I'm slow.
Yeah.
So,
I'm the same as you. I'd probably go slower than normal purely because I'm actually enjoying the scare, but then I'm looking at that light and then I'm looking at that. So, you know, you're taking it all in. There's so many variable factors, isn't there, really? I mean, in a COVID year like this, I think the best way for an event to batch was either have a timed ticket for each attraction, like somewhere like Towers did. But we saw that go very wrong at Thorpe Park. You know, you saw the queues that they had, and they were batch times, and they all had attractions that didn't really have any set scenes. You know, if anyone here has been to Screamfest, for example, in Burton, they always have the beginning of their attraction has like a scene that plays out, and it works really well, and it batches them in time, things like that. If you had time tickets on that, you can see how it can have a little bit of a backlog effect. Whereas you know, Towers, it worked really well. Thorpe, it didn't quite work for them, but it all depends on, obviously, numbers. It's a far smaller park. But what Spooky World did, talking about Scary Kingdom, how they do it with a multi-part event, the fact that they run that way anyway,
it's a little bit more
benefited them in a COVID year. Other places adopted that method when they haven't in previous years. So Spooky World, actually, there used to be an event where you'd queue up for that one, queue up for that maze, then have a burger, then queue up for that maze. Whereas this year it was a one-way system. You did maze 1, 2, 3. Again, kept queues down, kept throughput good, and it was it meant no backlogs or bumping into other groups. But like you say, Charlie, it all depends on how many people, how much money they want to spend, or how much money tickets they do sell. Because I know Spooky World's numbers, they cut their numbers down to 30% this year.
Oh wow!
Which is tiny. You know, it was tiny. And I don't know what every other event did. You know, the government don't hand out, you know, they pass them to cinemas, to play centres, to pubs, to restaurants. They hand out these packets of COVID controls that are like, you can work at 80% capacity or 40% capacity. I don't think they did that at all with scare attractions because they don't know what the things are. So I guess it was all up to parks individually to see how they can be COVID secure. Obviously, hundreds of pages of risk assessments and whatnot. But to me, looking round, you could tell that Alton Towers was heavily reduced numbers. You could tell that Spooky World was heavily reduced numbers. And then other parks you'd go to and go, have they reduced their numbers? Because it doesn't seem like they've reduced their numbers. So, again, it's that sort of, how do you want to be greedy? Do you want to like make loads and loads of money, but make your attraction not as good? It's finding that nice balanced line, and I guess this year, a COVID year, has made that even harder to do.
Yeah, we just had I think Emily comment just say that their batch timings at AT didn't go too well, but it wasn't too bad. Let us know more about that. Why do you think it didn't go too well? You know, how do you think it could have gone better? What do you prefer as an actor? We've been talking a lot about these drive-thrus. I wasn't able to go to one because I don't have a car. But I want to know how they worked, like from an audience perspective, and Aidan, from someone who's worked it. How did that go down? You know, what was the safety involved, and how did it work as an attraction?
Oh, do you want me to go? Oh, yeah. As an actor, like, obviously, you're told something, but obviously when you go into it blind, like I've never done a car scare, it was quite nervy at first. Like, you're told obviously that you're on, say, there's like stop points, and you've got to see your character. You're kind of free to do the character you want to do, but it's kind of like there's a stop point. You're in this scene. It's kind of like you're safe when they turn off the car. You think, okay, I can go and scare now without being run over. Like, which is obviously it's obviously a good safety, but like it was difficult at times when you've got, like you said, batching and stuff. Batching can be perfect, but if a car's going too quick, you've had quite a few cars go really quick that you feel unsafe at times, or they're going too slow. It's difficult because you've got to kind of, like, you can push a group through in a maze, but you have to open like a stop gate, as the two that have been through them know, to stop, and then you've got to get the other car to stop, and it gets kind of like a backlog. Then it's quite difficult, but if you get the timings right, people are driving properly, then it works perfectly. And I thought it's really different. It's not the same as a scare maze working it, but I enjoyed it just as much. Like, you'd work out a different way to scare.
Were you allowed to open the doors? Because I've seen videos of people opening the doors.
Yeah, well, I opened the doors. It was quite fun. Their reactions, I think, shit, we've left the door open, which was fantastic. Or even, like, it sounds really daft, but I'd open the boot and make comments on what's in the boot, or like, oh, what's this, or, you know, like, because it's always about scaring. But when you've got a group that want to laugh, like, it's funny when you can open a boot, open the door. It's different to scaring. You've got more time to enjoy yourself with them customers as long as they are. I thought it was really good. Yeah, it was different.
Road to Hell, where I was like, get out the car. And then what? And then don't get out the car.
Yeah,
it was brilliant. Had me in stitches.
I love it when mazes do that. When the scariest part is like audience participation, and you're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But
Ash, you did all three, didn't you? Did you find that there was differences between their that's the main thing that we got messages about. Was the safety of them, to which I go, we don't know. I don't know, ask them. But it has been a topic piece throughout sort of September as these popped up, and Road to Hell I felt very safe. Don't get me wrong, there were certain points where I was driving along, and if I wanted to, I could have easily ran that person over. But then you could argue that you can do that on the street anyway. I'm not going to run anyone over, but it's... So some people might go, well, hang on, there's an actor there. Like, shouldn't they be over there, or should it be there? But it's just the same as going down your local high street, I guess. And then they did it with the whole stopping of barriers, and then you turn your engine off to let the scene run out. Were they all quite similar, Ash, or did you find differences between each one?
They all did it quite differently. So you had the barriers at Road to Hell, and then you had at Festival, you had a traffic light system, which worked. It worked really well. And what was interesting about Festival is that it was scene. Whereas at Road to Hell, you had that spooky drive in the woods, didn't you? Like between scenes. So again, I'm not sure if that's because Festival moved, or whether that's they had one thing after another thrown at them. Bless them.
Bless them.
So I don't know what the original was like, because I went to one of the few days that they were in a zone, safety tier. Then Fearfields didn't use. I don't remember them using things. It was just kind of like they'd just sort of put their hand up and say stop, but not like in the path of the car. So they'd kind of signal to the car to stop, and then once the car had come to a stop, then they'd approach and do the stuff. So they all sort of kind of try to be careful not to get in the path of a driving car. So that's kind of how the actors stayed safe. What I quite liked about Fearfields is you had little huts along the way. So you got like scares before, like the big scenes. You had little scares and little bits that helped with the batching as well. So because it was long, Fearfields was a long drive.
Was it?
I think 45 minutes plus.
Wow, that's like double the others.
And the distance between, like, you were driving a long way. I should have, seen how far we drove, but it's a long old journey around the around the site, and I think that was quite good in that you had like those little scares, and then the more elaborate scenes where you had like proper set pieces and stuff kind of helped figure out with batching. We had a few points where like we kind of just held back a bit because we could see a car's lights ahead, so we held back a bit. And because that one didn't have, you know, a traffic light system or a barrier, you did end up maybe having more than one car in a section because it was all down to the actor's timing.
Right.
But that didn't damage the experience. You just slowed down your driving and just, you know, you because it's quite hilly, you could see ahead.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see what was happening, but you could see there was a car. So you could like adjust your speed. And, you know, if you kept to like 4 or 5 miles an hour they recommended, then you're fine.
Did you have to turn your engine off at Fairfields?
In all of them you were meant to, but driving an electric car, it doesn't really go off. It must be terribly confusing for the actors. I feel really bad because like the lights don't go off, nothing goes off on the car, and so like I've just stopped. So you have to kind of trust I'm not going to run them over, which was a bit weird. It took me a while to figure out exactly how I can get the lights to switch off eventually.
But, speaking of which, we have someone we work with, I won't say names, who got an injury to themselves because someone, I think, didn't turn their engine off or didn't do something and drove into them, and they had an injury. So luckily it wasn't too serious because they were continued on working, but yeah, it was bound to happen at some point. I think we were all like, there's gonna be something.
It is a slight concern. I mean, there's a concern when you're working in a maze. I've been punched in a maze. I'm sure we've all been punched or something's happened. You know, here in the UK, touch wood, we're quite lucky that it's not usually too bad. I mean, I've heard some horror stories from the States of a few friends of mine that wear stab vests now. It's terrifying. It's horrible.
What?
Yeah, certain areas. I mean,
USA.
there was a shooting at a haunt at the beginning of October in America this year. You crazy Americans. But anyway, so we're relatively lucky in that respect. But you people will lash out even if they mean to or not mean to. The concerning thing is that I very much doubt anyone will mean to hit anyone with the car. But it's like at a safari park. You can sometimes, I hit a deer. Shit. Well, like you don't mean to, but that deer could get too close, and you do. Just clip the wind mirror, or it's although thousands of cars went through, and I'm hoping he was the only person that got a clip or something like that. But it is concerning to think if this is going to be a genre of attraction that's going to progress. There's going to be more of. It went so well this year. Fairfield, I'm not sure on their tickets, but I know that Festival tickets sold out fast. Thousands of cars fast. Yeah. And they were able to get through a set amount of cars. I know Road to Hell did the same, but so you got to look at percentage of has only one person in the whole of the country got hit out of maybe 10,000 cars. It's a positive in that respect, but still not good, is it?
I think there's things we can learn from this. So like it's the first time doing something. Lessons can be learned, like safety precautions that you just wouldn't have thought about. Accidents happen in every industry. There's nothing you can do about it. But what you can do is look at why it happened, what happened, and put methods and processes in place so that it can't happen again. So you can't stop accidents. You can try and avoid them, but once they do happen, it's looking at the what's the cause.
Because they were definitely all very new, so there's definitely probably areas that they want to explore further, especially if, fingers crossed, COVID is gone by Halloween next year, touch wood. So there's going to be much more avenues. I feel like Halloween next year is going to be insane. Like, people are going to be catching up with all the scaring that they missed this year and just going absolutely mental. I just wanted to comment on what I thought was quite funny about the drive-through mazes. Is it was marketed as a COVID-safe way to experience haunts in the safety of your car, and obviously you were saying some mazes you had your windows down and you can have your doors open. I just found that very funny in a sense. It was meant to be like in your car in this little bubble, but there was still kind of some aspects of interaction. I found that a bit confusing and a little bit funny in that sense.
See, with Road Hall, if we opened up a door, obviously the boot's okay. You can have a joke with the boot because there's nobody in there. Hopefully, I didn't see anyone in the boots when I was going through, which was great.
A little family dog.
If there was a dead body in there, what do I actually do? But like, whenever I open the door, you kind of other side of the door, if that makes sense. So you're kind of that meter apart at least.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you've got like, I had my screwdriver and like put it into my eye, it looked great. Got a lot of scares. But, like, I was putting that towards it. It wasn't me being close. It was like my hand, so to speak. I wasn't like putting it in the car. It's just that distance, a meter, is enough to know that like I'm safe and they're safe. No matter like what happens. Because obviously they were not going to get out the car.
Yeah. The open windows, props were how they managed to do that. So they were able to put props in the car, not the people.
That's good then. Yeah.
You had like clowns with like big like mallet type thing, and they were able to just chuck it through the window and get it quite close to you. But that's not a person. And and they're obviously got masks on as well, so you've got that added safety that they're outside, you're in the car. I felt completely safe at all three drive-throughs.
That's good then. Yeah.
It's as safe as you can be. You like we said already, like the supermarket's more dangerous.
Oh yeah.
It absolutely is.
I was gonna say one of my friends has to travel for some reason, and they were at an airport and they were saying it's ridiculous, like you're sitting right next to people, there's literally like very little distancing. In schools they're all bunched together, but the lengths people had to go to keep their business going, and distancing and masks and regulations they had to follow, compared to places that are allowed to open with like little to no regulations, I just find baffling. Like,
without getting too political and COVID policey and stuff like that, like the attractions that we visit and we run, day to day and at Halloween and whatnot, we have had the most strictest of strict COVID secure guidelines. And since we've all been reopened, and when they opened my business, your kind of business, and all that palaver, we didn't really see much of a spike or anything like that in cases whatsoever. However, when schools and universities reopened, there was a massive spike, yet they are the ones that are still open. I might be naive on this.
I mean,
but I don't know what the statistics are, but I know that most schools around me have started closing because of the amount of cases within their year groups and whatever. So this lockdown 2.0 really only feels like us lot are getting on lockdown, because everyone else can go to work or work from home, and people can still go to school, and you can still do X, Y, and Z. You just can't have a nice time.
I mean, my main job, I work in a special needs college, so obviously we're all open. Certain students aren't allowed in because of their conditions, but I do feel quite safe at work because I have to wear the visors, and it's like it's smaller classes and it's quite distant, which is good. I don't know about everyone else, but I'm speaking from obviously my job. I feel really safe, which is great. I don't know about other schools, but
I've not been in a school since I was at school myself, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm being like, because I'm at uni. But to be fair, even at uni, the regulations we have compared to like high schools and primary schools, we've got to all wear masks, we've got to all distance, and there is literally like a very limited of people on campus, like. Pretty much 80% of people are online learning. There's like barely anyone in. But I'm just reading some of the comments here, and people are saying, their haunt attraction felt more safe than their normal day job. And like, not going into the politics of it too much, we'll probably move on after this. But 4% of cases apparently from hospitality. That's not fact checked. So I'm just going to put that out there. It's not fact checked. But, it feels like we've had the blunt of it and the blame of it.
I just worry for the whole of the arts. It's not just the scare industry. It's theatre, it's comedy, it's music, gigs.
Yeah.
Like these poor artists that have to go into cyber because
and it has such a knock-on effect as well. Like, so it's certain haunts this year that haven't opened, using that as an example because that's what sort of the business we're all in now. That meant that a lot of the security team didn't have a job this October. The drinks, food and beverage people, stilt walkers. It just has such a knock-on effect. A friend of mine, Kate, Miss Kate Monroe, she's a good friend of mine, a member of the show. She literally a couple of years ago sacked in a day job and went full-time with her. She does face painting, body art. She's a Nix Award winner. She's worked with Calvin Harris at the Brit Awards. She's worked in Germany. She was going to go to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
She made herself a star in that industry. And now the government have said, get a better job. Now, that's, in my opinion, I can understand if they're like, right, at the minute it's hard for us to do that sort of thing, so maybe something temporary, or use the word temporary, or you could do this, you could do that. But the fact that they're telling hundreds of thousands of people in this country who are in the arts and, the bigger arts bubble, the fact that they're telling them to get a better job, I think is the most disgusting thing I've heard this government say. Better, there's no such thing as a better job. If you do a job and you do it well, you do a job and you do it well. If we didn't have bin men, guess what? None of our bins are getting emptied. If we didn't have people working at checkouts, guess what? We're not going to get any shopping. Every single job is valid, and if you do it, you do a job. The fact that they said the word "better job," I think, is the most. Oh, why didn't anyone blow up Parliament on the November 5th?
That's why they locked down in November. They were like, "Oh, bonfire night's coming up."
Why did Boris have to ruin our Halloween night?
Exactly.
So many families had organised, because you're not allowed to go trick-or-treating. So many scare events have closed. So many places were in tier 3s or tier 2s and things on lockdown. All that. So families have actively tried to make a nice little Halloween in their back garden, or they're going to watch scary films with popcorn and sweets in their house. And instead, Boris said, no, we're gonna do a discussion at 4:00. No, we're not. We're going to do it at 4:30. Wait a minute, we're going to do it at 4:15. Then at 6:00, the knobhead comes on to say, right, we're going back into a lockdown for everyone in hospitality, but no one else. Like, why did he have to ruin our Halloween? Anyway, I'll stop talking about COVID. I'm sorry, stop over. Sorry.
Oh, I agree. We all agree.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to have one hell of a party when this is all over.
Yeah.
Cheese in a bowl.
Oh. So, were there any kind of areas that you thought could have been improved or worked on, or perhaps weren't up to the standard you were expecting? And how do you think they could have improved for next year, maybe?
So, one thing that I noticed in a few places were the lack of masks. So, we've become accustomed now to wearing a mask in any indoor space, really. There were a couple of attractions where masks were not worn by actors, and they were indoors. I think it's there weren't many, and I think it's worth highlighting that most attractions followed the rules and did the blooming best they could, and tried absolutely their hardest to make sure that it was as safe as they could, hand sanitizer, all that. But there was the odd case where I was surprised at the lack of masks. Which was one observation that I noticed, which I wouldn't have even thought twice about. And touch points. I don't mind the odd touch point, even in a COVID year. The odd one's okay, but if there's loads of them, that's not going to help with transmission. And that's something that I noticed. Again, not in many, but the odd attraction felt there was just a few too many touch points, even with hand sanitizer and stuff. But a few too many at times.
I think that the word is unnecessary touch points as well, isn't it? Like, some might be necessary. If you have to go through a door to get someone, you have to go through that door, and then they should, if they're doing things properly, have their enhanced clean, which is either every hour, every 2 hours, dependent on throughputs. Again, there's so many things that should be done behind the scenes that a consumer won't know about. Whether they do them or not, that's up to that business and their, they'll get a visit from the task force if they're not doing it, and what that sort of palaver. It's when I think I'm similar to Ash in the fact that there's a few places where I was like, why have you put this many touch points in here? That was silly. That was stupid. Why are most of your actors not wearing masks? And again, just echoing what Ash said, there's very few places, like out of the, I don't know how many events opened, but this is maybe 5% of those attractions that have opened. Not how wrong they've got it, just how maybe they've thought about everything else but forgot about that one thing. So they might be taking temperatures, they might be doing track and trace, they might have put masks on a certain actor, they might have had hand sanitizer, but then they forget, hanging things. We should have took those down. Touch points is the main thing. I mean, I went through a maze that was a hooded maze. They changed it to a blindfold instead of a hood. Okay, smart idea. I was told that you take the blindfold home. It was like a one-use blindfold. It turned out that I had to give it back. So make that of what you will. I don't know. But my concern was that it's a rope, and there wasn't any hand sanitizer at the beginning or end of it, which confused me because every other attraction at certain events they had hand sanitizer. It confused me why there wasn't hand sanitizer at the front of this one.
We made a similar observation as well.
Strange, isn't it? Really strange.
See, talking of touch points and stuff, mine was, I know I'm talking about one specific one where part of the maze you couldn't physically see where you were going at all. There was no lighting. So you had to kind of, you knew that you were touching like a certain wall traffic way through how many other people were touching throughout the night. And it obviously wasn't going to be clean because it was in pitch black. And obviously you can't turn on a traction to clean it. That's what I felt kind of like. So I'm touching this wall trying to get my way through because I can't see a single thing. And how many hundreds of people have touched this throughout the night? And you're kind of like, great, like, not a single place to even clean or even to, I bought my own sanitizer at times and did it halfway through the maze if I had to. Like, if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, dark points as well was a very good point. There was a few sort of dark sections that you could have just turned a few more lights on.
Simple as it shouldn't be pitch black. Any other year, we'd be like, that pitch black section was awesome, or that actor was really proper in my face. That was great. But and we had on the podcast, I'm going to say that 99% of people appreciated that we're honest, we're fair. We're not brutally bashing anyone, but I'm not going to lie to the listeners or whatnot. We're going to be fair and honest. But some people said, can't you just pretend that COVID's not there and just review the attraction as it is? And a part of me was like, I don't think we can, because that it's a bit like if I went somewhere last year and it was really, really good, but I got cut to shit by barbed wire. I'm not going to ignore that I got cut to shit by barbed wire. That wasn't a safe event. So this year, you just have to. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. And certain attractions, which we're not here to upset anyone in the industry. We're not here to bash anyone. We want to show. In the same thing that you're doing here on Picking Brains, what Ash does with Scare Directory. We're all in it for the same reason. We want to showcase the scare industry and show the rest of the world that we're bloody good here in the UK. And you can only do that by being fair, honest, critical, and even have a conversation. An attraction I went to a big park that's is a big park in the UK. Thousands of guests. One of their mazes it was far too dark, and actors were getting in my face. It was night one, so it's going to be a few issues there. Rather than just completely bash them, sent an email just to let you know this happened in that maze. They changed it up. They added more lighting. They put new markers down, and people that went the week after said, "Oh, they must have listened because it was really good." My concern was when I potentially did that with other attractions, and I just got hurled abuse at me.
Do you want to drop a name, or gonna?
I won't say abuse or anything like that. I'd say that
hostility areas,
more independent areas where I'm not trying to say that I'm cocky big bollocks or anything like that. I'm not saying that we know it all, but I'm just saying that I wasn't too affected by it. But potentially, you might have some customers that could bring up some issues. And then when you get sent, well, this is our risk assessment. But then when you get sent a risk assessment that's only 1 page long, they've shot themselves in the foot, haven't they? No risk assessment should be 1 page long.
Yeah, it's very short.
Yeah. So yeah, I just think it's a case of working together and helping each other out, and that's the only way that we can get through this crappy year, I think.
And I think that's something that would be, assuming COVID's gone and we get ScareCon, I think that's some really interesting talking points for attractions that were able to run. Let's talk about things, what did they struggle with? Where were their challenges? I think that would be really good for the rest of the industry. Maybe these smaller events that maybe didn't get everything right this time. There's an opportunity there to, think about things. Let's see how we can improve. Now, I think almost all events I went to this year, if they weren't already brilliant, I think a key word that I said there is potential. So if there was the odd little thing that wasn't quite, perfect or could have been better, you could see potential in pretty much everything. And that was kind of my big word for this year. I think it's potential. And they've been held back by this virus. In a lot of cases, the virus has probably stopped them, reaching their potential. But I'm glad we got all these new events this year. So yes, all the traditional ones, most of the usual ones didn't open, but boy, there were some good little ones out there. And I hope that it meant people. There were some people that were like, you clearly were like, I'm going to try. I want to try and put on an event, and you could see the ones that tried with heart versus the ones that tried with, anything but yeah. But as I say, most of them, there was heart behind it. Even if there was like the odd little thing that wasn't quite right, you could tell that they put the passion and the energy in.
Yeah. And no one's perfect. It's just one of those. It's not easy.
Yeah, and I think I feel like we now live in an era where feedback and constructive criticism everyone seems to take it very personally, and I feel like moving forward from this year, I think it's so important for, attractions, events, theatre, anything, really that you can receive feedback on, is to not take that personally, because, people genuinely, when they do give constructive feedback in a nice way, they want you to excel. They want you to do really well. If someone's giving you constructive feedback rather than writing a terrible review, that's them being really nice and, saying, hey, I enjoyed your event, but here's what I think could be improved. Because I think if we all just be too nice about everything, then we're not going to grow further. I think, especially just coming from a background where, in drama school, they will, if you did something not great, they're going to tell you to your face, this wasn't great, and it.
Oh, yeah.
I've had teachers say to my face, that was the worst 15 minutes of my life. It was terrible. Here's how to improve it. And, it means you grow further. Obviously, don't go around to attractions going, that was the worst 15 minutes of my life, because it does hurt.
I felt like it before, but no.
It's probably worth noting on that note that actually I had an attraction reach out to me on a fairly critical review, and say that they felt it was fair and that they were pleased that we'd highlighted certain things. We weren't alone, obviously. Other people had maybe not so polite words said the same thing, but they were responsive to the criticism and took it as a positive, saying, I know things didn't go right this year, but hey, we'll do our best to improve next year. Yeah. And so
and you appreciate that more.
Oh yeah, and I really hope I think that has made me tempted to check them out next year and think, okay, let's see what you can do. Yeah. And so I think some people will take constructive criticism well, and I all respect to them, really. Take it on the chin, learn from, we all make mistakes in life, we're not perfect, so I think there's opportunity to improve, and I think let them and let's see what they can. And that's what's great about the internet. It's given us this voice, and while it can sometimes be bad, I think it can be helpful for creatives to get some criticism at times. I know personally, I thrive on criticism. Just to, it's the only way I can improve is if someone says, "Well, that's rubbish."
Oh, definitely. I've had like the amount of conversations, even silly things, of make your intro shorter. Oh, okay, because it's too long. People skip it. All right, now it's shorter. You move the microphone up further away from your face, or do it's the only reason. Silly example, cars are as good as they are now is because they used to make cars. People would go, I like that bit of it, but I didn't like that bit. Focus groups. They build. When we first had checkouts that you did your self checkouts, they were crap. They were terrible. And now they upgraded them. They changed them. They listen to people. You go out through a Sea Life Centre, and at the end they want you to do a survey for it. That's all it is. It's all the same thing. And yeah, the parks that listen and go, oh, he's got a point, that bit. Yeah, well, that's the point. Oh, I didn't realise the actor was doing that. Maybe we should change that. That's great. There might be some points where they go, he's clutching at straws there, ignore that bit. Fair enough. That's because that's just my individual opinion. It's your individual opinion. The best part is when people actually go, how was it? Don't bullshit me. Be honest. Be honest with it. Because when you're at an event, you go, yeah, no, it was really, really good. Really, really enjoyed it. I like this bit. I like that bit. Any bits that you'd improve on? And then you go, honestly, I'd probably do this, and this. That's great. And it doesn't mean that I'm right. Doesn't mean that you're right. They might try that and go, that worked. Shit, Mikey, that was terrible. Why'd you give us that idea? If you don't know, you don't try. You don't build. You don't. These events are only better and better because of feedback they've had, growing, being able to change the way they do things, and you see it with the, with Tully's today will be far better than it was 10 years ago. Just a fact. I like to think so. Anyway, and the same with the business I run is only as good as it is today because of either complaints we've had, or positives we've had, or negatives we've had, and it's just same with you guys with Zombie Infection and with Turf Wars. It was your first opening weekend. I'm sure some people have said it was awesome, but maybe do it this way, or the wait was too long to get in. I don't know, just random stuff that you just change and improve on, don't you? So
yeah.
Hopefully people don't take it too much to heart. The worst part is when people go, you're wrong and here's this and you're an idiot and I don't like you and you're not coming to our event again.
There's too many Karens about.
Yeah, I mean, what is the point of asking someone to review something or have a look at something and then only expect it to be all good? You can't expect someone to review something and it be shining, glowing reviews all around, because that's kind of defeats the point of asking someone to come and review it. You do hope that it's good, but I just think that's just silly. It's just ridiculous.
Sometimes there's too much sugarcoating as well, in my opinion. Sometimes, but that's only sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, in the words of Stars, who's just commented, being open to feedback doesn't mean you have to take it on, but taking it in and assessing it is very needed. You're allowed to turn around and go, but you don't need to turn around and go, you're wrong. You can go, fair, that's your thought, that's what you've experienced.
That's a really good quote.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that on a wall.
There you go, Saz. Boom. So on that note, is there any specific points or areas or places that you think, that you really want to see thrive a little bit better next year and do a little bit better through constructive, obviously, criticism?
So,
put you on the spot there.
So what we saw go well this year that we'd like to see other attractions take up? Is that the kind of thing you're asking?
Yeah, something along the... We were having a conversation before the podcast started about certain things that happened. Obviously, I'm not going to force you into saying them, but if you're open to saying it, go on, please.
I mean, I went through Stourbridge. Did you all go to Stourbridge Scare Maze?
Mm-hmm.
We all went. I thought the sets were actually great. I was very surprised by the sets. I thought, apart from that one bit is maybe a bit too dark for COVID, but I thought the sets were great. If they had, maybe, not better trained actors, more knowledge of what they need to do in that section, or you know, like little bits like that to make it feel like you're in that set rather than walking through it, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously, yeah, I'd probably say that was probably the most one. But and then, for like lights of Halloween, well, I've never been to Halloween World before, and like I come out very, very disappointed.
I would say they were, they're ones that definitely have room for improvement. I'd say potential to use Ash's buzzwords. Yeah.
And I love a corn maze. You know, like there's so much you could do with a corn maze, and there is potential. But yeah, I had a similar experience to Mikey at Halloween World, and yeah, there's a lot of potential in that. You know, to use that cornfield, there's potential to do something fantastic with that.
100%.
Yeah, the mud's a bit of a challenge. Like that's going to be a lot of straw.
Yeah, it was because it was very long as well. So you could argue that if it was filled properly with good actors, set, not using the Nemesis theme tune, then it would have been it could have been a really quality, attraction and whatnot. So it was like you say, Starbridge. It felt like the sets were there, awesome, really good. I think they could have changed lighting up a little bit just to let those sets look a bit better. But sets were awesome. But that was amazing. I was concerned of the lack of mask wearing and too many dangly touch point things. I'll be honest, I said it on the podcast and I reached out to those guys as well. It was only their second night open, I think, and it's one of those set really, really good, really impressive with X, Y, and Z. Just thought I'd be honest to say, some people might start complaining if they don't see many masks, or some people might start going, I thought this was COVID secure, now I'm having to move every single little thing. And then with Halloween World, again, the potential is there. They had a whole fairground area which was closed, which just made the event. If the fairground wasn't there at all, you wouldn't second guess it or think about it. The fact that it was there and closed made you upset or annoyed that it was closed, because it would have been so much better if it was open. What's the point?
Yeah, we noticed the same thing. We were like, oh, that's odd.
It was open when we went. It was open when we went. The actual fairground
might have been changing regulations or something, or something. Yeah, I don't know.
It was open in the daytime.
Oh,
because Hannah went pumpkin picking in the daytime.
Yeah.
Oh.
One thing that I think Starbridge is one I'm really intrigued to go back to next year.
Same.
Yeah. I think that space is a good space.
Definitely.
It's like that. I don't know where you end up at the end of it, but whatever you end up in is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how they found that building, because that's got like those tunnels and stuff. Like
yeah. Visually, it's really impressive. Yeah. Like I was pleasantly surprised going through, and I was going through with a bunch of people who run attractions, and we were all like, the setting there was great. There was a few bits that you would change, obviously, and a few steps were a little bit too high. I thought they could need more steps, things like that. But that's just me being a health and safety nerd, because I run a kids set centre, But it's definitely, year on year, that could grow into something phenomenal and a real staple attraction. It could. But opening the COVID thing, only 80% of it was mega COVID secure. It felt like the other 20% was a bit iffy.
I feel like maybe that wouldn't take much to make it a fantastic maze as well. Maybe like a couple of bits of lights, maybe a couple of change of sets, like you said, especially next year it's still all COVID regulations and stuff. And then obviously the actors, but like I feel like it's not far off being great, because you've got half of it there with the set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't take many tweaks to make that great. Which this is where I was saying, like, I hope the attraction can take on board what people have said.
Yeah.
And go, actually, next year we'll make these few small changes, all doable, all achievable with very little money as well. Let's do it. Hopefully. So yeah, I'll definitely be back at Starbridge to sort of see what they do next year. If it comes back,
same.
who knows if it'll come back? But
Yeah. Well, I think we should end on like a positive note. So obviously this year's been super, super tough for many places, especially then going into a second lockdown for events that run all year. It's tough. So how do you think we can support these companies? And if you have a specific company that you have enjoyed time and again, I'd love to hear just a quick summary of their experience and, you know, where you can find them, how you can support them. For me, Room Escape Southend did their virtual escape room. They were one of the first people to, you know, start the virtual escape rooms, and I definitely recommend getting a gift card, supporting them. They've got a GoFundMe page due to this second lockdown being really tough, so you can find them on Facebook and Google search. So that's definitely one for me.
Same sort of thing, really. The fact that they've got a Just Giving page, go and support it. The way I've sort of shared things and things like that on social media is a godsend for that sort of thing. It's if you are in the position to help, please do. If you're not in the position to help, then just like their page, share it. So just like some photos, put up a review if you've actually been before and not left a review. So all these happy, nice little things that you can do, they're free, you know. All it does is help and support and build. But because everyone's going through a crappy time, you know, big time. It's a real bad year for a lot of people. Only a very select amount of people are actually benefiting from COVID, which is crazy. You know, if you make hand sanitizer, you're in a good business, you know, or toilet roll. But if you, so if you're in the position to help, definitely, you know, help, support. Obviously, you guys have got Save Our Scares, which is great as well. And just, if you're not able to help financially, click that like, click that share, you know, support them. But if you can do gift certificates or vouchers or anything like that, you know, these are the things that as soon as COVID's over, and I'm positive it will be, you know, and I'm really hoping it's sooner rather than later, people want to go to these events, to escape rooms next year, you know, go to a zombie event, do these things that we enjoy, you know, they are the arts that need, so, you know, we need to support the arts in that respect in these events, just like they do during these lockdowns for us, you know, Sky, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Shudder, Online Escape, all these things that we do to pass our time when we're locked up at home because we're not allowed to leave the house, are people who have in their past trained to be an actor, trained to be a set designer, trained to be a music scorer. You know, it seems like we're being very, you know, like hypocritical as a country to say, well, we forgot about the arts and events and all that palaver, whereas they're the ones that have kept us sane throughout this crazy time.
100%, yeah.
And obviously after all lockdowns hopefully finished, like you'll be able to go to, like, obviously I'm not being biased, but obviously we work for ZI, but like obviously like going to ZI, going to theatres in London, or like even obviously local to wherever you like live, like it's important that people can go out to see shows, to see musicals, to go to gigs. Like I was lucky enough in August to go to a gig that was like in a park, but it was COVID safe. But like only a month worth of acts were able to play there, and you think of the rest of how many millions of artists that can't play there, and you think come next year when it's like gigs booked or ZI events or escape rooms or any kind of event, that you're going to need them to literally to enjoy it, because right now you're sitting at home like, well, wish I could do this, I wish I could do that. So obviously it's important that you support them as you can now.
And I think it's one thing to think about for like Christmas presents. Buy people gifts to these things that they couldn't go to this year, but they can hopefully go to next year. Support people that way. Again, if anyone's doing these online offerings, whether it be a virtual escape room or some other way to entertain us during this weird time, then sign up. You know, go along to it. You know, like I've told people at work about virtual escape rooms. I've sort of said, you know, we can't have a Christmas party this year, but you know, we could do a couple of virtual escape rooms, and great. You know, that's hopefully, you know, going to help a little bit, and also it's going to be fun. You know, so you know, it's every little thing helps. And as you say, Mikey, you just like share, tell people about stuff.
Support.
Some attractions are selling tickets already for next year. You know, buy a ticket. That, you know, it will all help.
Yeah.
And another thing as well, take a voucher. Don't ask for money. Like, it's if you've paid for an event that's just gone on and it couldn't go ahead this year, but they're like, don't worry, we'll be back next year, and anyone who's booked a ticket, you can transfer it over to the next year. Don't throw your toys out the pram wanting that £20 back, because that is only £20 to you, but to them that could be £10,000 if everyone wanted their tickets back. That will bankrupt that company. People think they don't think, they're like, well, what if it goes bankrupt? I won't be able to go next year. Well, if everyone asks for their money back, they're gonna go bankrupt.
Yeah,
you are the cause of the problem. Whereas if every single person said, just wait, just have a refund, just have a voucher, or have credit, or use it in another way with another location they have, or any other way, just do that. It's only £20 to you. Because thousands of pounds to them.
At the end of the day, that's dinner on their plate. That's bills paid.
It's their mortgage over their, roof over their head. That is.
Exactly. So your £20 can go a long way. Just keeping it in that business, trusting that business, which is what Save Our Scares is heavily about. Consumer confidence. Just please keep your money in those businesses. I feel like the American what was it called, the Great American Depression, where the president went on the radio and was like, keep your money in the banks, and then everyone did do that but scare attractions, and it worked. So there we go.
Everyone listen to Charlie to get us out of this.
Yeah. Oh god, that's so much pressure. But thank you so much, guys. It's really been fantastic summarising this Halloween, and I know next year is going to be crazy insane. It's going to be fantastic. And even if aspects of lockdown are still going on, fingers crossed they're not, but we have ways to get around it now and ways to learn from it. So potentially places that couldn't open can open again this next year. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for being with us, and thank you everyone for tuning in and chatting. They were preaching your words there, Mikey and Ash. They were saying a lot of positive response there. So yeah, thank you so much, and we'll hopefully see you very soon. Yeah,
definitely.
Cheers.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, guys.